Hey, this is Asbog the Gaming Orc, and I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on this new game called Cities Skylines. It's a pretty cool game. It came out on Steam about a month ago, but I've kind of got, some tricks and stuff that you can use to improve it. You can see like tons of people are trying to get into my city. My city happiness is really good, and I have constantly a bunch of new people coming in, and I have about a pretty good weekly income. So this is just to help you get started. I've only gotten to about 12,000 people. So this is just to help you out if you're kind of struggling and you just want to sort of build a generic, city. So here we go. Basically what I do is I build these things called blocks. So your roads are like the spine or like the arteries or the veins of your city. So in the beginning, I use just the basic roads. What I do is in between these roads, the long roads, I build. You can see everything if you look down at the individual cell level. Basically, each one of these little areas, these houses, are broken up into little blocks. So I don't think building a circular city would really work, even though that's going to be the most resource useful and resources. It's going to use the least amount of resources building circles. But so since the smallest unit of measure is a block, you probably want to use a block sort of way to measure, especially if you're just trying to experiment, just try to get started and you just want to kind of have fun with this game. So what I do is I build, and I can stagger these. I first start off with basically an industrial area and a commercial area. Now I was reading up on some more tips. Basically this commercial area causes a lot of noise pollution, so you might want to you want to try to figure out ways to insulate the commercial from your residential zones. And so when you're starting to build a city, you are just building these smaller residential zones and the smaller industrial zones, because you're not getting to the mega ones yet. On the streets that are horizontal, that are connecting them, I use two-way streets, and I upgrade them later as soon as I can. So you can see they all have trees to reduce, make them look better and reduce noise pollution. Now you might be thinking this is just sort of a boring city. Yeah, it is. It's sort of a boring city, but it works. It's just efficient. What I do, so after that, I build 4 residential areas, and each one of these have one-way streets to basically try to reduce traffic. And I'm just building, you can build them, and I call each one of these blocks. So each one has 4 residential, a commercial, and an industrial. And that seems to be a pretty good, amount for doing this. So let me move up a little bit, and you can see I repeat the same pattern. Here's an industrial one, here's a commercial one. But now you can see by the time I actually built the other block, and when I build them into what I call a block, I can zone them out into a district. So this is Fairview Hills, this is Hickory Heights, it's random. And you can see I have a space in between the blocks, what I call blocks, or city, if you want to call them districts, whatever. So I can build up particular buildings that will benefit both blocks, that will take usefulness for both type of blocks. So I built things like the garbage dump, which is more or less near the commercial areas. And then the waste and stuff is really waste and so forth is really here. Here's the power plants. You can tell it's near all the industrial area because I don't want them to get involved with the actual residential area. Here's how the power works. The power is just connected. I use coal power to begin because it's cheap and effective, even though it creates a lot of pollution. And then I've moved, once you get to a larger city, you can build these wind turbines. And the wind turbines are great because you can build them out on the ocean. And you see how they just connect to the whole power grid. And even I have some over here. Now this one I had to connect through power lines over here. So because they have to be connected. This whole power system has to be connected. The water system is really simple. Basically I connect. You have to use them downstream. So you can tell, like, this is actually, so this is the sewage one. So downstream is this direction. For some reason it's not showing it. I just unpaused it for a second to see if it would show it, but it's not. So there we go. Actually, if I show it, and you can see the contaminated water. So I would continue, if I needed to, I would continue to build them. And they're very small buildings. So that's very efficient. As long as they're connected to the pipes, I don't need to build one on the other side of the city. That's fine. And then I just connect it through. I use the streets. I don't try to use a fancy way to, fancy system. I alternate it every other street. And basically I build it sort of connecting to the veins or the artery system of the city. So I connect them together, all four of these together, or I just connect them together to begin with. And then I just connect the pipes, and you can see the pipes actually they're a two-way system. You have fresh water going into the buildings and sewage coming out. And I just alternate it, and I stop it at the end of the block. Now, how do I determine actually the block length, this particular block length? Well, it's just the default block length. Like if I actually just show you just how to simply do it here. And this is sort of the maximum. If I drew this road very long, this would be you could see how this it's moving, not moving on the left, but it's moving on the right. And see if I move one more over it, that's sort of the max. So I figured that's the way the programmers had maximally, developed sort of a zoning area. And you want to have as few intersections as possible, because what I was reading is the intersections they can create traffic jams, and the one-way streets really help with this. And what I've noticed is say you see my guys are sick and so forth, they're really not. Of course, if you build bigger and bigger hospitals later on, that'll probably go away. But my city happiness is really good. It's just trying to give you something to do. Something to do. I have a lot of cemeteries. One of the cemeteries is full, the other ones are empties, but the trucks are still going out. So you can manipulate the budget if you feel like you're having a little problem with these. The trash dispenser, the garbage is. So what I've done is I try to have the garbage area. You see them near this zone. Now they're near the commercial zone, so that's not good. I want them near the industrial zone, and you can see here I have them two incinerators here, and I have to really start to expand the garbage, so I try to keep that as far away from everywhere. And the thing about this game, unlike SimCity, is you can buy up other land. So this is just in one of these little squares, but one really cool feature is you get to buy up other pieces of land if I wanted to. So I can easily expand and have very designated zones for that, unless I'm trying to build something really massive where I need to be really tight and conservative. I would build industrial buildings around this if I needed to. So let's take a look here at the health, and you can see those are the cemeteries. And if I look here at the hospitals, I built one hospital here because this is the first hospital I built. I think that the order of importance really is health, fire, police, and then education. Sort of how they have it listed out here. I think education is probably really important, because education can make your city earn a lot more money. And I'm going to get to that in a second. But basically, you can see also I built a hospital out here. So I have two hospitals for a city of this size. So I want to build the bigger ones, but they're really expensive. They're $65,000. And I would plop it. You could see if I wanted to build a big one, I could easily try to plop it in here. It's really large, but I have a lot of space in between here, so I can do that. So I have a park there. I could just demolish that park and build it up. And I would probably want to build it up here to the larger residential zones. So you can see here I'm starting to get to the larger residential areas. So here's the smaller ones, and so the same system, 2 and then 2, and then I do that. But now I was moving on to the larger residential areas. Now I want to connect the larger zones to the larger zones, obviously. And later on you could probably demolish these or rezone them if you really wanted to. And because I just figured that you're going to have more population. And then so the larger zones, when you build, and the key to this is you build a university is what I'm trying to get at. So by the way, let's just go through the other buildings real quick. There's the fire one. I have a fire building here. Let's take a look. I have a fire one here. I have another fire building up here. So it's sort of each, 2 blocks, really, if you want to call it, or 2 districts have a fire. So they're using the adjacent, they're using the same resource. So it's very efficient. If I use a police, it's the same system. Like, I usually put the police and fire department right next to one another. Remember, there was the fire department, there's a police department. And so I can put all these major, public goods, like the hospital, the fire department, the police department, are all near one another. And then the universities, I haven't mastered this entirely, but so you can see my undereducated population is really high. Because I have a feeling you have to have a lot of elementary schools, and then you have fewer high schools, and then you have a university. So I just built I think I have 2 elementary schools. See, I do. I think I have 1 high school down there when I was first starting, and now I have 1 university. The university really hits almost the entire city, and so you have to sort of, again, figure out a way. This might be too small of a zone, but I think it's just right. And whatever I don't put in there, I put in like inexpensive parks and decorations. You could put statues, cemeteries, things that you're going to need. Here's the public transportation. The buses are real cheap, and basically I want it. You can see I have every street. I've just started to expand up here, but every street begins to have public transportation. And I build bus stops along every way. And sometimes you're going to have overlap. It's a little buggy. It's not perfect. But you can see I'm over highlighting. You can see the whole area, because it increases the happiness of the area. There's the parks. You can see I just casually build parks in, and it increases the land value, improves the homes, and it brings in more revenue for the city. I haven't built any unique buildings yet, but I could. Where's that one building? You could try to build this mall. It's not that bad. And again, you would probably build it, right in here. It would be probably a good fit right up here into the new districts up to the end of this peninsula. Let's take a look at what else. I don't have a monument yet because you have to have a really high population. And for me, for the policies, I like just using the smoke detector. And I'm not like a big, this one's probably pretty good. I haven't seen this. You could do kind of cool stuff with recreational use. You probably would want to build a big police station before you do that. And I could probably do free public transportation, and that would really probably make my citizens really happy. That was something I was thinking about doing as well. You don't really need to do water and power. Again, the power's out there, and I've already explained the water. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything. The reality is this is going to help you just to get started. If you want to just build sort of this boring, Megablock, I call it the Megablock system. It makes zoning and building really easy. And I haven't perfected this middle part yet because it looks like it's a little too small. And here's a couple tips. Basically, when I'm starting to build, a couple more tips. When I'm starting to build the larger zones out here, you can tell I want to build with 2-lane roads, the big 6-lane roads. And I haven't moved on to, I'd only want to, you could actually maybe use the highway system to route out, but in the beginning you don't. So you just build one simple road. So in the very beginning you just build one road, one of these really simple roads, destroy it, and then you can actually build the one-ways and other roads. And now you can see I've expanded. This is beginning to expand into larger roads. A road system out here is similar to like these 6-lane roads to allow for that. And that is the reason why you're like, oh, but the plumbing has a slight overlap. When you start building bigger roads, the plumbing has no overlap because you're plumbing it right out over into this, and the roads are large enough, and that's how it's built. So I'm going to show you quickly how you sort of build just one of these mini, let's call it a lane, for the block system. So I need to build the road structure first, and I want to build those larger roads just because, but if I was building a smaller district like you're getting started, you can do it. And you can see how when I build a road, it goes out 4 tiles. And I want to build, so these are the 2-lane roads, these are these roads right here, and I want to build these larger 6-lane one-way roads to prevent it. And you can see how when I do this, it matches that. You see how it matches? That blue matches that perfectly, that edge. So this is actually the perfect length. Now, the road system is a little wonky. In other words, if I plop that there, it'll say like, oh, you have a dead end there. Not a big deal. I take the 2-lane bushes, So I just build the best roads, you know, I can. If I can't build the best roads, I have people coming in the city still, and I take a look like, oh, there's my thing, and it says I need some industrial zones. So like I was telling you, there's commercial, there's, looks like that's an industrial zone. Let's first of all make sure the power's fine. If I actually look at the power, my power's in the yellow, so I have surplus power, it's fine. And if I build, and then my water, I might need to build one roll water thing, because this is going to turn yellow soon. Because these larger zones, and see, I would build this pipe up, but see how the water system covers this area perfectly. So it's very well managed. So I need more commercial or industrial zones. And like it says, for the office zones, they act as a good buffer for noise pollution. So you want to build those when you have a university. So you can begin to, those are going to bring in a ton of money. So you have the combination of a university around young adults and these high residential zones, which are going to work in the office buildings, which have these nice 6-lane roads. Now, with the mass transit system, you have a lot of more stuff. The metro is actually the most efficient. Like I just wanted to show you that, so I didn't build it. And then you can build out metro lines through, you know, again, look at how well this would work in the middle of, sort of in the middle of the city. You could place it right in the middle here, so everybody could easily go to work. You build little metro stops, you know, along, you know, both ends here, sort of like how the bus system works. The bus system isn't perfect, but the way the programmers have it, it's kind of glitchy. It doesn't loop around that well. So let's just do a couple of those. You see what this is? This is a train station. I was reading about train stations, so it's really good for tourism, and if you don't, otherwise it's not very efficient at moving people, so the metro is the most efficient for public transportation. So I'll just put a little stop there. Oh, it just says to create a new line. See, I just want to try to loop around. You can see it's not perfect, and the guys get a lot happier. See, I just want to make sure I'm getting around, you know, these areas. So there's a lot of looping, and the looping can create bus traffic, whatever. It doesn't make it, like, you can see I try to have one line, so just the buses are just traveling down the one-way street. It makes it really efficient, so they're not like, there's like 4 or 5 lines here. If you were really perfect, like a perfectionist about it, you could do it that way. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like, subscribe, comment. You know, leave me a video of your city in the comments. I'll check it out. And I will see you guys on the battlefield.